Hi, today I have a 2011 6.7 where somebody's added a diesel exhaust fluid, the DEF, to the fuel tank, and that can cause quite a bit of damage. If this happens to you, the best thing to do is instantly shut it off, or if you can, don't even ever turn the key on. Stop right there, pay for a tow, pay to have your fuel drained, the tank cleaned out, and not get any damage. I want to show you I have two trucks here right now with extensive damage from this. The one right here that I'm showing, it's still together and it's still running, or it's able to run a little bit, but I want to show you how it has multiple codes in there. I have a misfire code for number 5. I've got a I maybe have injectors or circuit problems. I haven't looked at it, but as you see here, I have a one that's telling me water and fuel condition, and the same way down here, this is another one for water and fuel condition. And then as we go through different ones, we do have different things. One of the best things to do is when you suspect to have contamination is to open the fuel up here and then take the cap off and smell it instantly. Because if there's gasoline or DEF in there, you can definitely smell it. You want to get the vapors as soon as it comes out. And that has an ammonia smell to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little more search on this one. Now as the DEF dries, it leaves like an ice crystal. And I'm not telling you this so you can try to hide the evidence, because it doesn't work. I mean, you can hide the external evidence, but it doesn't help on the internal, and I'll show you that in a second. But as you see here around the drain, we have all the, looks like it's crystallizing here around the fuel, the water drain valve. So go ahead and check the fuel here. Here I have a clean container. You can see all the particles down there in the bottom. So we got contamination there for sure. I have the fuel filter out, and it's a pretty cold morning here for us. It's in the 50s. So I've got it sitting out in the sun, let it dry. As you can see, just here it's already starting to look like it's crystallized. There's no getting around any of that. It's not that we try to be jerks and not cover stuff. You got to remember, we're supposed to be Ford's, an extension of Ford, and Ford's eyes. They call their parts back once they pay the bill, and we've got to look for the obvious signs of damage, because they're going to, and you know, they'll bounce a claim on us if we're not honest and not true. So I'll just show you what happens and why you should never ever start your truck if you put DEF or anything in it. You can actually watch this one kind of like a time lapse. As it dries, you can see the crystals forming just here as we're talking too. See if I can catch a couple. Go ahead and let this sit for a few. You can see how it's changing here just as it dries. I'll show you another one that I have a part with the engine damage. Okay, here's another one I have that I'm working on. This one he drove until it quit. It has metal all throughout the system, so we have to replace everything. We're going to be doing the pump, the lines, all the injectors, the fuel rails. You know, be doing all these rails here, the sensors, everywhere, just because of this fine metal that's contaminated the system. Now, what I kept on mentioning earlier was it doesn't matter if you try to like clean out your tank and fool the dealer, because it doesn't work. The internal components, so I'll show you here. You can get your pressure regulator. As you can see, it's all crystallized too. It shows up, signs of it. And then here, your pressure regulator. You can see here from the, we have rust and everything through the system. So it's not just a simple like clean the tank out and switch the fuel filters and they don't know. That's not the case. But there's a lot of signs here that continue on even once the you know, once the fuel, once it's in there and contaminated, it's taking out a lot of stuff. That's why the correct procedure to fix these things is to just replace the whole entire fuel system. Okay, here we are about a half hour later. As you can see, as it dried, it all crystallized, and here inside the fuel filter lid. Now again, not saying to, this is one of our checks, but I'm not trying to show you guys how to try to cheat the system, because it won't work. You can put in all new fuel filters, you can replace the tank, do all that stuff, and it's still, the internals will show this way too, which I'll show in a few minutes. And these are inspections that we have to do before we can get, well, we get paid blanket. You know, Ford will just pay the claim, but they call every injector back, and every injector goes back, every turbo goes back, and it gets inspected, and it gets tagged to our dealership. So if we don't follow the procedure and make sure that it's not contamination that caused the part to fail, then it just gets bounced back on us. So if we go and or if we go and do the job without doing the proper inspections, all we're really doing is just paying the claim down the road, because it will just get bounced back and to us, and they'll just debit the dealership's account. So we have to make sure all this is right. And again, it's not just here. I'll show you internal on the engine what it does to them. But I'm going to go ahead and drain the fuel and drop the tank on this one, and continue on with the repair to show what we can do here to maybe salvage this one. Pull the clip out here and then push in right here. You can pull it off. The truck had a full tank, so I just removed it from the best place I found, right here beside the transmission. Removed it, put a little hose on it for an extension, and drained it. Commanded the fuel pump on and drained it. Now if you plan on commanding the fuel pump on and just doing it that way, this is what's left in the tank after it's all said and done. You can see still quite a bit of sediment in there, so I still have the contamination. Maybe half a gallon overall left in there lining the whole tank. But if you want to get it all, you're going to have to remove the tank and take it out and wipe it clean. That way you know you have it all. When you're looking at it, repair it can cost you $8,000-$10,000. I suggest that. Okay, we've got the tank and the lines all cleared out and flushed out, and we've got new diesel fuel in there. But still, this one has other errors that was caused, or other problems that was caused from the DEF in there. It actually causes the injectors to short out. So now I'll go ahead and start this one. You can see at first it sounds pretty good, and it looks good, and after a few seconds of running, the injectors that shorted out takes out 4 of them. So now he has other issues besides the the tank and everything else. He has here that we're losing 4 injectors. The proper repair is replace the whole entire fuel system. Here's another one where I've taken off the volume control valve and the fuel pressure sensor and let them sit here for a couple of hours. As you can see, the DEF is all crystallized and shows up evidence of it. Now the good thing, this one didn't show up any rust in the system. I don't really see any metal, but we still have the damage from the DEF. This is the one that the injectors are cutting out on. And I've tried to isolate it by disconnecting or unplugging one injector at a time to see if it's what's pulling the module down, and I can't isolate it to a single injector. So now the customer has to make a decision if he wants to chance it and try the injectors only. We are recommending to do the whole fuel system. That way if there's any metal in it, it doesn't take anything else out. And these are expensive repairs. They can be $9,000 plus. So, and he also claimed he just started dumping in, maybe he said about 2 quarts out of the gallon, and noticed that he did it and stopped. And yet he still has all this damage. And you can see here where the I'm just going through the fender. I pulled the fender liners off to make it easier access, and that's the fuel rail where we took the sensors off of. So yeah, I can't stress it enough. Don't let any DEF or get added to these, or gasoline. They'll have major failures. Thank you.